broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
All right, here we go. Welcome, AfterBuzzers, to the newest hit NBC shows after show at AfterBuzz TV, Aquarius. I'm your host, Sam Davidson. If you guys haven't done so already, please go on iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, rate, review, subscribe. I'm assuming we're using the hashtag ABTVAquarius. You can find me on Twitter and tweet at me if you want during the episode at SamD43. I have two lovely men here with me that are my awesome co-hosts. You guys want to introduce yourselves and let them know where they can find you on Twitter?
You are way too kind. I'm Guy David. You can find me on Twitter at Guy and a Girl Show. Tweet me, I'll tweet you back.
It's a really funny Twitter handle. Hey guys, I'm Nicholas Grava. You can tweet at me or, find me on Instagram at Nicholas Grava.
Awesome. So we had 2 episodes this evening.
Yeah.
And it was a lot to take in. What did you guys feel about it?
Immediately, just off the first episode, I loved it. I couldn't wait to start the second one. Mm-hmm. A little bit weary after the second one. It felt like two different. To me, it really did feel like 2 different shows, 2 different tones. I thought, the first one was really easy to follow. I knew it was happening. Second one feels like the plot started to just go in a lot of different directions.
2 hours is heavy. It's heavy for a new show to watch a premiere, but I love the 60s. We all love the 60s. We love the drugs, sex, race, rock and roll, politics. And I was just caught sometimes just admiring how they did it. I thought they did it really well, showcasing the 60s. Now, there's a lot to go in terms of character development and the plot forming, but this was such an interesting period in American history that I was with you. The second episode wore on me a bit because we didn't know what direction it was going in, but I am hopeful because I looked forward to this for a long time, and I'm hopeful these holes can be filled over the next coming 12 episodes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And not to get into news and gossip, but what we do know is that NBC will be putting these episodes online after tonight's 2 in its entirety, the first season in its entirety. So why they're doing that, we're not really sure.
What are you going to do? You're going to watch it or...
we'll make a decision collectively, but
She's gonna watch it. I'm gonna guess right now.
The last show that I did, that was a Netflix show, and I thought we all agreed on air that we were just gonna go home and watch it, but apparently I misunderstood. So I was the only one that knew everything.
I hate the sneaky people that they know we'll watch it together week by week, and then they sneakily go and watch all 10 episodes, and then they act like they haven't watched it, but it's clear that they have watched it because they're trying to be know-it-alls. Do you ever get those people?
Yes, I understand, but maybe that could help them because then they're going to be able to connect the lines and have a little bit different approach from it.
Yeah, but they're cheating by not telling us they're doing it.
That is cheating.
Okay, well, let's just say, first of all, I did not cheat on the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. If anyone is watching that, watch that. They told me everyone was going to do it. Secondly, I think this is the kind of show that, after we watched this, I said, I really don't know much of what happened in the second episode because I'm very confused. I wish I could watch it 3 more times. So it being on streaming and having us being able to kind of watch and dissect each one for this show specifically, I think could be a big help as far as after shows. So
my question is this though: how many viewers are really going to? I think we are not the average viewer because we like to get the information. A lot of people, if they watch an episode once and they don't get what they wanted to get from it or don't understand it, I think they just move past the show. That's what I feel with the average viewer. Not a lot of people, I think, will rewatch, especially the first or second episode of a show, to get more info to understand it. What do you guys think?
No, that's a good point, because I really did my research, so I don't look like an idiot when I come on here now.
Sure,
so,
I didn't, so here's to hoping.
So I knew what was going on, but I was thinking to myself, if I just started watching this, I would have enjoyed the whole scenery of the 60s, but I wouldn't have known a lot of it. I would have been stuck, and I'm not sure whether I would have rewatched it,
Okay, well, let's just get into the episode and see what we understood and what we didn't. I think that it's a very character-heavy series, and obviously David Duchovny is the star, the producer, and he loves himself a lot because of the
You don't
big
say.
David
I
Duchovny
didn't
just
catch that.
like wording before the name of the show.
I love you, David.
I do too. I mean, I'm fine with it.
He's got the clout in my books to do what he wants.
I agree.
That's one thing I will say in the second episode. I think that there's a lot of reason why they did what they did is because we got to see more character development in him in outside of the original case that he was working on with Emma, which I think was
Yes.
nice to develop him a little bit more. And he definitely became more, attractive as a character.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, let's start with Emma. So she's this girl that is the daughter of Grace, who is somebody that David Duchovny's character, whose name is Sam, which is easy for me to say because that is my name, but they really call him Hodiak.
It's his last name.
Everyone just, his last name is Sam Hodiak. That's David Duchovny's character. Emma is at a party with her boyfriend, who is an actor that's on a bunch of shows, and Rick. And he gets a little blowy. Sorry, I don't know if I can say that. By some girl that we later find out.
Now that was a twist I didn't see coming. Did you see that she was going to be part of their little clan?
Yeah.
cult?
So that was all a plan, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk this through like someone doesn't know.
Yeah.
Even though if someone were listening to us, they would have no idea what they're listening to
that's why
because
you gotta
this
watch
is
the
very
show.
complicated. Watch the show and then watch us.
So yeah, watch the show first.
Okay, so she sees her boyfriend cheating on her and then meets Charlie. Who
Well, first she meets these girls
Yeah.
who kind of draw her in as like, oh, we're friends, let's go hang, and that's how she's eased into it because that's less threatening. I think a group of girls, they relate to each other, then they meet.
Yes.
I didn't think he was that charming. I thought he'd really he had such a cult following, Charles Manson. I expected a really charming, well-spoken sort of guy and to approach her in this playboy sort of way, but I thought he was a bit rough. I wouldn't have fallen for it if I was Emma, but
I did wonder, how accurate is that someone would just immediately, because we didn't see a lot of negative stuff at home with her, which I think would have been a little bit helpful to start to draw that conclusion of, okay, home is bad, she is invisible as he keeps saying it, and that's why she went here. But I was questioning a lot of why was she so willing to join?
they said she has run away before, so she's been in trouble in the past,
Yeah.
and that's what made her mother so concerned.
Yeah, I mean, when I was watching this is the type of show that is kind of seems like a movie. And a movie, you watch all at once and you get most of your questions answered. And if there's a sequel, that's awesome. But with this, it's like they're giving you snippets and you're so confused. I'm sure as the season progresses, we will understand why she wanted to run away because as we know, her father, little Kenny, has some secrets of his own.
He's a sphinx, if you will, as she called him.
Yeah, a sphinx. And when they said that, I literally go, what does that mean again? Nick just goes, I think it means like a cat or like a sly cat or something.
I don't know. I think that's what it is.
And I go, that makes sense. I think that's what it means too. But, her character is obviously pretty annoying. I kind of think. And I'm like, this whole thing's happening because this dumb girl, just run. Just run, girl. But that's what they say about cults,
I guess, but I didn't, like you said, I didn't think he was so suave and oh wow, he really smooth talked his. I didn't think that.
Because, this guy's so suave. He's 80 years old in prison now and still has a following, 50 years later.
Yeah.
And he drew hundreds of people in and made people, kill for him, make love to him. He must have had some sort of... I didn't see that from
He did
the
have a
character.
few one-liners or things that were, I guess, persuasive tendencies, but overall, yeah, in the beginning scene, I was.
But it's creepy. He said about
creepy.
Emma when they first met, I pulled her out of the womb of ignorance
Yeah.
and into the light
I wrote
of now.
I wrote that too.
Yeah.
Just that crazy cult hippie 60s movement thing going on. That it sort of drew people in. Do you guys wish you saw a bit more of how she got, how she got drawn into him? Or were you just you had to move the episode along?
Well, I was happy to move it along to see what we were going towards, because we all knew she was going to join at that point. So I was excited to see what that meant. For some reason, I wish we saw a little bit more of that side of that date. She was just so content with it all. And even 2 days, 3 days, and they said, "How are you?" And she said, "Oh, I haven't." She spoke about I haven't heard my mom call me or anything like that. I don't have my phone, and she was just very content with it. And I'm saying, I don't know if things are different in the 60s, but you were normal 4 days ago, and now suddenly that's cool, you're fine. I don't know.
She wasn't going to a great environment. I mean, they had no food, they had to steal for clothes, no money. So they weren't living in luxury, and she lives in luxury. She lives in that massive house with the great view over Hollywood, in Beverly Hills. So, yeah, there's something.
I think he knew that she had a quality that he could prey on. And I think that's
he had
what it
been
was.
preying on her for quite some time. We find out because Charlie had a relationship with her father.
Yeah.
But so basically, where the show is this is where the show is going to start, and the first mystery we were going to tackle is what happened to Emma. And the audience knows what happened, which I love when the protagonist doesn't know, but we know. So we kind of get to follow them in their discovery. It's a little bit frustrating to do that, but, it's exciting, and she's fine, I guess. She had her... I think she's considered. I saw her consider escaping a couple times.
Well,
possibly.
that initial scene, a couple days in, when he says, love is love, and they're all around her. I mean, I was thinking that was the point when she was going to be done, over this. Don't, this is all a lot more than I thought it was going to be, but it didn't.
Yeah.
Is the story going to go past Emma? Do you think, because they already know who Charles Manson is, they know where he is. And there's still another 13 episodes to go. So do you think it's going to expand into the bigger picture?
I think that's what the second episode did. I think the first episode, the pilot that they filmed, probably was focusing a lot on that. And I think they may have got some critical notes saying, let's add in some other storylines. Let's add in, he takes this other case during it, which I don't see of any correlation to Emma's case, except for character development and to get used to, we're going to see other cases every show too.
Yeah, well, it's, Charlie Manson, his character is in every single episode. He's super creepy, which kind of reminds me of a new show on ABC that's coming that's very creepy called The Whisper.
I like that transition.
I'm very excited about this new show, you guys.
Me too. The trailers are unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. So basically, I'm just going to give you guys a quick rundown because I think it might be something that you all will like if you like Aquarius. It's imaginary friends are cute, right? But what if an imaginary friend was not so imaginary? In the mysterious new drama on ABC, someone is tricking innocent children into playing a dangerous game, a game that could threaten the entire human race. Parents cannot see or hear their children are being manipulated, but people are being hurt. Nobody knows that this is a not-so-imaginary friend. Really? So I read this pilot script when I was on an airplane, which it doesn't have anything to do with travel, but it scared me deeply. I was in the air, and I was like, whoa, this is terrifying. Yeah, it's amazing. It has a bunch of awesome stars in it that you've seen on many shows, like Barry Sloane from Revenge and Kristen Connolly from House of Cards, a bunch of awesome people. You guys really should all check into it. The series premiere is Monday, June 1st on ABC at 10/9 Central. So
I'm going to be watching.
Just keeps pulling them out.
Yeah.
They renew all their shows for other seasons. They just keep pulling them out. Give them credit. Credit's due.
That's true.
So everyone, please go watch it because I know I will be watching it.
The Whispers. I keep hearing every time that trailer breaks in on something, it's always it ends on an eerie tone too. It's really great. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. And I think that, just the network's killing it. And Aquarius, as kind of confusing as it might have been these two episodes, it's good. It's going to be, and like I said, I think they're putting it all online because it's so confusing. Also because there's a lot of history tied into this show. Not a lot of shows are based off of things that, we were talking about it when we were watching it. We're like, did that actually happen, those small little storylines? I don't think so. It's a fictionalized version of Charlie Manson's life before he got caught.
Now, I want people that are watching the show and don't know much about Charles Manson to go Google him, go Wikipedia him, go look at his biography, because you learn so much just by reading him and who he is and what he is as a person, his personality. And that helped me enjoy the show more because I was trying to compare him to the real guy that's still alive now. I've seen do interviews. I've seen his personality. So that really helps knowing what is going to happen and what this man was sort of like. So I suggest people go research.
Yeah, it does help
you know?
to have a little bit of that background knowledge while you're watching it.
Yeah, it'd be really cool if NBC did something like post different things along with the episodes about the history of Charles Manson and what him and his cult kind of did. Okay, so we haven't even touched on basically the other protagonist in the show whose name is Brian.
This is your man.
Yeah, I met him at a pool about a month ago.
This is your man.
He's a nice guy. He's a very attractive man, if you hadn't noticed, and he also has the same haircut as like a lot of the other guys on the show.
I don't know if that's the '60s. If they just had that one cut going down,
It just looks like the hipster cut now.
I actually heard an interview with him, and that was the '60s.
It was.
He really tried to showcase himself in the '60s, but he still looked damn good. I'll agree with you there.
I have to tell
Thank
you.
you.
Well, I was surprised when Sam said to him as soon as he was joining him as a partner, he said, "Oh, yeah, you're gonna shave that off. We're getting a haircut," and he stuck to his guns. And that's why I love how he's not the stereotypical cop in the show. And he kind of plays on it even when the lawyer comes in and he says, "Do I look like I work here?" when he's in the station. So I think that's cool that he is that polar opposite to Sam.
I like his character too. I like the way he's playing it. I like the banter between Sam Hodiak, David Duchovny's character, and him. You got the World War II veteran, got some baggage, might have had a drinking problem, a bit of corrupt detective with the buzz cut and stuff, and then you've got the '60s young hotshot undercover detective. I think I like the chemistry. You guys.
The first thing I want to say is that I just think it's funny that basically every character David Duchovny plays has a drinking problem.
Californication, X-Files.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in all the movies, like everything, but I love him.
Well, he doesn't drink in this one right now because he had it.
It's a drinking problem.
Yeah, I guess.
It's going to happen. They touch on it. We know it's going to happen. But secondly, I mean, Brian is essentially a younger version of Hodiak, I think, is what the dynamic they were trying to make.
I don't know, because we see how different he is in the second episode when they're dealing with that case and when it has to do with race and stuff, and clearly he has different opinions. So I don't know. I don't know. I guess I'm not sure either way.
He's almost ahead of his time. I mean, we found out he's married to a black woman.
Yeah.
He's
Brian,
he's straight and narrow. He's a straight guy by the books. He's almost ahead of his time in his character he's portraying.
Yeah, I know. He's so hot.
Enough of that. We can't get
And we've covered that. Thank you, Sam.
But, in a way, Hodiak said something to Brian, almost as though, like, you don't know. Like, I think that Hodiak has been through so much that, like, maybe he was like Brian. And he's changed because, everything that's happened to him or whatever that may be. That you come in all naive, kind of like, oh, I'm going to save the world. I'm going to, like, smoke weed and live how I want to live and, like, whatever. But that changes.
I think we're going to find out a lot more about his past as we go on, too. It's sort of like Dom Draper and Mad Men. You find his history, how he wasn't who he was if you watch Mad Men. I think it's going to be similar with Hodiak. I think he's got a past, a World War II past. Some things happened to him. I think that's going to come into the story later on.
I hope so. I mean, I was like looking the year they said this started, which is 1967. That's the year that this show takes place or starts to take place. And I'm like, whoa, are they that? I guess that guy would be older than my dad. I'm like trying to like count the years, but it's a whole different generation that we've touched a lot upon in movies and stuff, but not a lot of TV shows necessarily tackle this time in history.
To be honest, and I think they're doing an amazing job at it. But I was trying to actually think back I couldn't think of any TV show that I had watched that had taken place.
There's a lot that have tried, and I really hope this isn't going to be one of them.
Yeah.
I
don't know. I got to tell you, I'm when I hear that they're releasing all the episodes online, I don't see that initially as a positive. I get a little scared about that. But I guess that's just because it's so taboo and that, it's only Netflix that does it. So maybe they do have something up their sleeve of why they're doing it. But it seems a little, I don't know, to me.
I don't know, it's NBC 9 p.m. primetime sort of television.
And there's been a ton of press for this show, and David Duchovny is a humongous force to be reckoned with.
That's true. That's really true.
But once I said again, I do think you have to know the history, because I do think it'll get heavy for some people, especially those first 2 episodes. I mean, sometimes we didn't know what was going on in that second episode right there.
Yeah. Okay, so basically what starts to happen is that these 2 guys team up and they become partners. And then Brian kind of gets pushed into being undercover, which makes total sense because he looks like...
He doesn't look like he's a cop, yeah.
Yeah, and also, I just want to say, I wasn't around in the 60s, so I really don't know, but, why didn't Hodiak drive a cop car, And the Miranda rights, I didn't know this. Learn a new thing every day. They were, new. They just learned it in 1967.
Is that when it started, the 60s?
It must have been. I didn't know that either.
Do detectives drive cop cars?
I think...
They said they were cops, though.
Yeah, I know, but I think detectives don't, maybe. I don't really know the formality of who does and doesn't, but yeah, they just had the popping light on there.
No, he's a detective. Even though I might have never said it in the episode, but in the readings I've done, he's Detective Sam Hodiak. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's just so old school for me to watch it, and I was like, why? And I guess there's the 60s were a crazy time of change. This is the late 60s, almost to the 70s. And everyone really was just, they went all out then.
Yeah, they've done it well, too. They've portrayed that transition into the free love, peace legacy 70s, and you're already seeing some of that.
Even locations, I was thinking, they're obviously not filming this then, so all these locations that they're filming at, they made the world convincing to me. I mean, I didn't see one weird thing stand out, anything. And sometimes there's a few times where I can tell that, okay, you're trying to, cut an edge here, cut a corner. But I thought they did amazing with that, of really creating the world.
It looked cool. I mean, how boring is the 21st century? We have iPhones and Twitter and social media.
Take me
back to the 60s, man.
Yeah.
Take me back to the rock and roll.
The music is amazing.
Yeah, which was a great part, and I am assuming that it's going to continue to be a part of the series, is having just awesome music throughout. And we did see a little performance kind of, here and there, pool parties, and there was just so many weird little things in the episode that I wish I had watched each episode 2 or 3 times so we can really delve into it, but it kind of is all confusing.
So I don't know where you stand. You're skeptical about it, or you just confused?
I love it.
You loved it?
I loved the show. I thought it was really great, but there's, certain storylines that we were all watching it together, and I was just like, what was that? We were like, I don't know.
I think it will take time. I remember it took me a lot of episodes to get into Breaking Bad, and it turned out to be my favorite show ever.
Yeah.
Some
shows are like that. That's true. That is really true. And some of the best shows are even Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad are both shows that everyone will always say you have to watch a few before you can.
But okay, let's say you're a network executive and you want to make money and you're going to make a show like that, and you say, we're going to put this on air. We don't want to lose viewers because it gets really good in 3 and 4. Let's just put them all online so that happens, so we gain an audience.
Could be.
I think, but that, I don't know, it just seems crazy risky to me. Because then, if you go binge online, are you going to be watching? Then are the numbers, how do you know if the numbers are bad because people aren't watching, or if the numbers are bad because everyone's watching online?
Well, they'll have an online hit thing, I'm sure they have a whole other skew of how they calculate it.
I mean, I originally thought this was going after Netflix and people like that, but maybe, maybe.
I mean, they have a great, listen, the concept is amazing. So far, they have done it really well. So I think this show, it has so much potential. I really do think it could be really great.
There's some interesting parts of the show still to come, like Emma's dad, what's his name? Ken?
Yes, Ken. Let's get into Ken.
Ken's quite the character. This is the show that in the last 5 to 10 minutes, we learn everything. In each episode, those are the most, educational areas.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, he's a fascinating character because there's so much we don't know about him. There's so much secrecy. we've already found out a huge amount, and there's still a lot we don't know.
I'm sure we're gonna learn more.
I honestly don't know if I want to learn more about Ken. Like, he's
a shady fellow,
but he's also weak. Like, I mean, I don't know. So, okay, basically what happens is that, you know, we find out, you know, Ken is Emma's father.
Yeah.
But he represents Charles Manson. He's a lawyer. And then Charles basically accosts him at his car and looks like he rapes him. And that's like a male-on-male rape on, you know, NBC. That's kind of a big thing.
I think the car went past just when he was about to rape him.
Yeah,
and
well,
we were left thinking...
No, he
Whoa.
did. He ripped his pants.
Right.
We know.
Oh, do you think the act was done?
I don't think the act was done. I think it was in progress. It was about to be done.
But
It's no
all
big deal.
intention. No, I do think, and when he came home and his wife was asking him, you know what, and and even Sam was there. They were kind of trying to figure out what happened. He has this cut on his neck. He's all ruffled up. His pants are messed up, and he lies.
And they didn't know that he knew Charles Manson at that stage.
Right.
Before he came home.
Because someone like kind of came in and they were talking, and so we skipped the first part. I thought it was commercial break, and then it was going to cut to him Ken coming home, being like, "Oh my God, I was just attacked." And then, you know, Grace, his wife, calls her friend, who's the cop, who's also helping to look for her daughter. But that's not what happened at all. It was kind of just a coincidence that David Duchovny's character comes in to the house at that time, and it literally looks like Ken has been attacked by a vampire. Yeah. He has like a thing on his neck. His clothes have been ripped.
White.
Yeah. But he isn't, but also though, when Charles Manson, and I can't really say his name without saying Charles Manson, because it's not just Charles, it's Charles Manson.
No, he's the infamous Charles Manson.
Yeah. Ken knows that Charles has his daughter, Emma, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, sorry. It's so many names.
A lot of names.
His first episode is tough.
But he doesn't do anything about it. He doesn't tell anybody where his daughter is, and he knows where his daughter is and who his daughter is with. Why?
Because he knows there's also a lot of his own baggage that comes with that. And I think that's what we learned, that he's not the most, dad, he's not dad of the year. He's not, looking out for the best intentions of his daughter. He clearly is worried about himself and his own secrets and his own past. So he's trying to iron this out the way he wants to do it, in like a secretive way, clearly.
Yeah, we see at the end, obviously, he likes men and he's having an affair with Charles, but Charles has manipulated him. But
with Emma outside the door.
Yeah,
by the way.
but also the other lawyers in the firm were also
there was
very
one other
influenced,
lawyer, right?
who said, this guy is a very dangerous man. We have to keep clear.
He was more worried about Sam than Charles, because he said, this guy's like an ant. Why is this other guy involved? We can just give him what he wants. We'll set up a meeting for him, and that's done and done. But now he was really worried about the police getting involved.
There's something bigger here than just a love. And
Exactly. I think that the other lawyer, that is Ken's partner, colleague, what have you, he was worried about himself, very much so.
Yes. We all asked, what does he have over their heads that we don't know?
And, I mean, Charles Manson's one of the greatest manipulators in U.S., history. But this is a high, powerful law firm. There's something more we don't know, which I think we're going to find out later, because you can't just manipulate something
Such
that powerful
high-powered
when he
people.
can't afford, a sandwich.
Yeah. Well, we find out, though, one of the ways to make Charles Manson happy is to help him with his music career, which is true to form with history with Charles Manson about what he did. We were talking about it when we were watching the show, that he has like a history with the Beach Boys. And there has been a bunch of very famous bands like Guns N' Roses that have covered his songs. He has been like a fad, almost a trend, while he has been in prison for the past, 40 years.
And this is everything. It all stems back to his music.
Yeah.
And by all what I hear, he's actually quite talented, but he never got a break, and that got him that he resented society. He resented famous people because no one ever gave him that break, and that led to this cult-like rebellion that he created. And all the people he brought in had to love his music, had to be on his path, had to worship his music, you know, and that's where it all started from. The
I
60s.
loved the quote at the end that was, "You either live in fear or you're the one that everyone's fearing," or something like that at the end of the episode. And I said, okay, that's what this, you know, the mantra of this show is basically that right there.
Yeah, and, you know, to get a little bit into the second episode, in the first episode, I was thinking, this is all really messed up, and I kind of hate how, like, Charles Manson is seeming he was definitely extremely creepy, but, you know, he's wooing these women, and I, you know, for a moment, I'm like, well, I guess if you're very insecure and you don't know who you are or what you're doing, something, you know, the things he's saying to you would make sense and give you comfort, but then he just kind of like takes it to a whole other level. But we didn't see a lot of him in the second episode, which was the problem with the second episode.
I would agree. But why? All I can ask myself is, okay, why did they do that to us? Except to explore and develop other characters, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think there must be much more of a storyline to come, a bigger picture, because we already know they know who Charles Manson is. You know, like I said, they know who has Emma. It can't go for 13 episodes.
Right, they can't go. They know, and now that Ken is there, and Emma's aware that her father was in the room.
She knows.
Oh yeah, that's why she was about to turn the handle. I think that's why she was about to go in. She heard. He knew that she heard. That's why he was so scared.
Go home, Emma. Go home.
Right.
Well, it's just like, and then when she lets the doorknob go, it's almost like she's in acceptance, like, okay, me and my dad are in love and banging the same guy. What? And just like letting that go and walking away.
Does she know his dad's in there?
I think so.
I think,
I think she has an idea. She heard his voice. Isn't that why she originally stopped in the hallway?
Yeah, I think that's why she stopped, and then, you know, he said, turn around, cherry pie, whatever it is he called her.
Pie.
Was it?
What was it? Is that what it was?
Pie.
Cherry pie. I'm like, am I creepy? I'm like, did I just make that up? And that was weird. Shoot. Yeah, and because Charles sees Emma start to kind of grasp her like power and independence.
Well, she starts to make her own life. There's no food, and suddenly, bam, she's the one that's out there getting the food behind the grocery stores, bringing it in, and, you know, a few, I don't know what the time was, but a few earlier shots, she was trying to steal a jacket and really timid and nervous and only thinking about herself, and then he enlightened her to the bigger picture in his world.
She's 16 years old too. I think that's why I'm thinking, what's wrong with her? But then I remember
that's
she's
true.
16 years old. She's run away before. She's not exactly mature. She doesn't, you know.
Did Charles Manson prey on like adolescent, younger girls in general? I actually am not really sure.
Yeah, you go.
You know?
I don't know.
He has no idea.
He got them at a young age,
clue.
and then they stayed with him for many years.
That's what makes sense, you know, when someone is kind of like transitioning into who they are.
And hasn't developed their full sense of self and awareness of everything.
And he started with petty crime, and it turned into them murdering for him in gruesome ways. He never actually murdered anybody.
Here's my question, though. His parole officer seemed to take a really back seat in all of this. Oh, what, you know, Sam asked, well, when have you last, I don't know, maybe a month ago? We all heard his rap sheet of everything he's done. Maybe things are, I don't know, maybe things are different in the 60s, but like, if you know that's one of the people that you're keeping an eye on, wouldn't you be, unless he has something over him too?
I think so.
We could learn that he has a lot more control than things that we think.
Yeah, I think he has something over everybody.
Am I didn't the lawyers speak to the PO too, and they got together and or am I missing that?
No.
Did that happen or not?
No, I don't think didn't he call right before because the scene in the shop when he cut the guy's eyes, I think the parole officer was calling the lawyers about that to let them know that something's going on.
I thought
someone called and said Charlie Manson's, eyes on the
guys,
phone.
we apologize if you guys have already watched this like 3 or 4 times. This is our first time watching it, so you're just in it with us like for the long haul because we are as confused as you are.
And if you're watching live now, tweet us if you know or have comments about anything. Feel free to tweet us all right now, and we can join in on the conversation.
I just what if like Charles Manson's like one of his wives at home tweets us? That'd be really cool and scary.
I never get that lucky. That would be so creepy. What do you think? So cool. That could make national headlines.
That probably would make national with the airing of this show. But my question is, what do you think his opinions are of the show? He's aware of it. He's alive.
He's probably like, I have a show on every planet and dimension and realm of this world. So welcome to my club.
He's still a lunatic.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still completely nuts.
There's like ladies that send him their underwear.
He got denied parole, which he was always going to, but he just walks up to the parole officer and says, "I'm a very dangerous man. Don't let me out." Mm-hmm. Parole denied. There you go. Made it easy for you. But I wonder if the actor...
Nick's like going to have nightmares tonight.
This isn't real. Like, I did not know much about all of this, so this is a lot of new information.
Like Gethin Anthony, I think, who plays Charles Manson, he would have had absolutely no contact with Charles Manson, right?
Yeah, I couldn't...
I don't know.
I don't imagine he did any kind of scene study going in there. Maybe he did a lot of reading and talking to friends of friends, but...
I'll try and research that.
Yeah, you know what?
Now, the method he went.
Exactly. Now I'm fascinated. We all are fascinated, which I hope the rest of America is fascinated that like we will kind of research this because on the short like kind of log line on IMDb, it's the story about two cops that go after Charles Manson when a girl goes missing before him and his cult goes on their big murder spree, which we all know. But that, you know, everyone's kind of familiar with that story. You know, he basically went after like Hollywood stars.
Hey, there's no spoilers there. This has happened. We know this is why he's famous.
So I don't know if like, you know, let's say the show goes on for a while. Are they going to tackle that? You know?
Must.
That's what I don't know either. And
where they're going to go, which direction.
I looked up reviews and stuff and couldn't find. I want to see if they go way up to like the Shannon Tate murders, who was 8 months pregnant and she's a
that's like his biggest thing, Charles Manson.
If you're going to make a show about him, I can't imagine you don't go on to that, right?
Yeah.
It wouldn't make. I mean, to me, it wouldn't make sense if you're going to use him. I mean, you use him.
Well, when bad things happen, especially in America, people say you kind of need to give it like a grieving time before you make a movie or a TV show about it. But this has been, you know, it's been a good 50 years.
Oh, yeah.
And
in today's society, I think we've even cut that grieving really short.
Lifetime certainly has.
Yeah, exactly.
But I kind of like, though, that this is kind of like simmered and like soaked in everything, and people have forgotten about the story, and now they're bringing it back and be like, remember this was crazy. And not a lot of people really like made anything about it.
I'm surprised. Has there been a Hollywood movie?
I think there was a Lifetime. There was something. There was a movie that wasn't very good. I think there was a Lifetime movie, maybe perhaps a mini series. I'm not quite sure. We will research and get back to you next week. We promise.
Do we think this is going to be focused on Charles Manson, or is this more of a period drama, just showcasing the characters of the era and stuff like that for people to go back to the...
I think if we had just seen the pilot, I would have said it's focused on him. I think they changed a lot up in that second episode, because mind you, that's the time gap once they can review their first episode. That's when networks are giving notes, and I think they started to make it a little bit more of a time piece mixed with that. I think they're trying to capture a bigger audience.
Oh, so the producers and the networks would have looked at the pilot and then said, "Go this way."
If that was, unless it was written as a 2-hour pilot the entire time, which I doubt.
because we saw it, the whole show, the beginning start again. You remember?
Yeah,
halfway through.
Yeah.
It was two episodes, two separate episodes, and what I learned about shows that have, you know, like 10 to 13 episode orders, they often get moved and they often get put out of place. The episodes, you know.
Yes.
Like, the second episode might not really have been the second episode because it kind of lost us all a little bit.
That happened with Allegiance. I was working on Allegiance, and they did. They started to move around different episode slots.
They really just shouldn't do it.
I'm glad you said you were lost, because I was thinking, I'm not going to say I'm lost, because they probably are right on it, and they're going to think I'm stupid.
No.
You know,
You're just Australian, it's fine.
And that's the perception I was worried I was going to get. I was worried you're going to another stupid Australian get put on the panel with. Just leave it to us, you know? Us Americans.
Well, please
There's
let us
another
know,
Australian in the show, actually.
Which one?
What's her name?
Claire Holt.
Yeah.
Claire Holt, which I need to touch upon because I love her. I love Claire Holt. She has been in so many of my favorite shows, like The Vampire Diaries, The Originals, Pretty Little Liars. She is all over the place and was actually a contender to be on Supergirl. Be Supergirl.
I didn't know that.
But she chose this instead, so...
I'm not sure if I'm crazy here, but there are many great Australian actors. Kate Blanchett, Nicole Kidman, Russell
There
Crowe.
are a lot. That was a quick
Amazing.
list.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I see them play Americans in movies all the time, because I heard with Claire Holt, I heard a slight Australian twinge in her accent.
Can we hear your American? Can you try to do a full-on American?
It sounds a little like a southern
Do it.
loser. Just
Go
like
ahead, let's hear.
What do you guys want me to see? I've been working on my accent recently. Oh God, that wasn't
That was good. That was good. Well, Claire Holt does almost as good of a job as you just did.
Did anyone hear that? Or am I going off?
No, I totally did because I watched her on so many shows.
I didn't.
I feel like they had her not speak a lot because she has a really strong accent.
You think that's why? In her other shows, does it shine through or no?
She has an accent every other. Or no, actually, on Pretty Little Liars, she did not have an accent. But
I mean, did not have an accent. It means talk like.
She had an American accent.
Had an American accent.
On Pretty Little Liars, but on the originals on H2O, which was her first thing ever. And yeah, I watched it. It's fine.
You did? You watched H2O?
Yeah.
Really
I shouldn't have noticed it, but I heard some Aussie words come out, and I'm thinking, please don't let me be hearing this.
Yeah. So okay, let's touch on her for a moment.
I wish we got more of her. I wish she did end up.
She's a big part of the show. She's a top billed cast person. We're going to get a lot more of her. And she goes undercover with Brian. And he kind of offers her up for sex, which was weird.
Well, because we know that he wants girls. She's a girl. We know that she can get in and infiltrate a little bit more. So at that point, I think, he knew he had her back. So, yes, he was offering her up, but he knew it was never going to end up like that. And I think she knew, too. And we saw at the end, she was kind of into it. She was like, oh, no, I loved it.
And what I've read is that her character is demanding respect in a dominated male industry in the 60s. So I think she's going to go beyond her means to get that. So I think we're going to see a lot more of her coming up.
I liked her. I think she could be a really cool character. Especially, I would love to see someone on the inside of that whole cult lifestyle.
Yeah, and I think when I just saw that little braid in her hair, and I was like, oh, she's going to get in. And she's ready.
Foreshadow. She had a braid.
Yeah, and she had a braid. And, a lot of stuff happened in the second episode, which, to be honest, I don't really want to cover it because I don't know how much of it is going to be.
I can't wait to see how much of it's going to connect or how much of it is.
There was a weird guy named Leo.
Whom
I have a big question mark next to him. He murdered his wife.
He wanted to be a dancer, didn't succeed.
Yeah.
We still don't know if we'll ever see him again or if we will see him again. Yeah. We don't know anything, do we?
To be honest, I hope so. Not because I like the character, but because I want there to be not just be random
connection.
Yeah.
It might have just been portraying the race aspect. They brought the black guy in. He did the whole Islam spill, and it might have been that period thing again.
And just tying it up full circle, we find out that Brian has an African American wife and a child with her.
At that stage, I thought that was the point of it all to me, but it couldn't be. I don't know.
That's just too small. I mean, it's cool. Good for you, dude. I guess in the 60s, that was a big thing. Now it's, it's like everybody else.
I mean, a white guy could be fearful for their life for doing that in the 60s.
Yeah, and he was very open. He's like, come on, and he invited...
Which I think is a big step for him in that character relationship to see that now that's that mutual trust and respect. Since that is such a big secret to him at that time, letting Sam in on that is something to say. I'm sure he doesn't bring his whole life to everyone else in the department. I'm sure Sam's one of the only ones.
I think Sam respected it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You could see that such a strong man that had his ways and what he believed really kind of started to reflect on that and started to see maybe that he's been doing things wrong. I did see that little light bulb go off in Sam's eye.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that basically ends our first 2 episodes of Aquarius. Let's get into predictions here, guys.
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
That always creeps me out.
It's supposed to.
Especially with what we're talking about.
Okay, so I'm going to predict that Charmaine, that's her name, yes, my biggest prediction is I hope, this is also a predictions of hope.
That she changes her name?
That she makes it easier for me to pronounce. No, I'm just kidding. I hope she infiltrates, starts getting on the inside, starts giving them feedback, and they all start to sort of get in on that whole thing. She starts seeing Emma. I think Emma is deep in at this point. I don't know that there's much saving going to be happening anytime soon.
I'm just doing a completely random prediction, but just because you can't have with networks, you always need a love story. I think,
you know what? That's a good point, actually. Where is the love story? What is it?
I think it might be Sam Hodiak, David Duchovny, and his ex, who's married to the lawyer.
Grace.
I think they might get back together or something. I'm just going out on the limb.
Which briefly reminds me just of the ending that we met Sam's son and his ex-wife or current wife and the whole military that storyline that
sorry we didn't
touch
on that, but that just really threw us like a whole nother like huge thing on top of us.
His son's gone AWOL and he's nervous about it and we don't know much more than that.
And she's put him in jeopardy with
by
what she's
faking
done.
being sick to get him out.
In those days it was death punishable for lying like that.
What's your prediction? I'm excited. Let's see what you got. What's your prediction?
Oh my god. Okay. I think that Ken is gonna die. Like, he's weak. He really like.
You think he's gonna literally be murdered, dead, or just get?
I would say give it by episode 6 latest, and then he's gonna be dead.
Okay.
And that would give an awesome opening for Grace and Sam to be together. I think that Emma is not really gonna wanna come back, because she's so drawn in. And I kind of, when I found out at the end of the episode that Brian had a wife and family, I was like, oh, damn, because I kind of wanted him and Charmaine.
Yeah, me too. I saw that. When they were sitting at the desk, I wanted that.
They have something. There's a thing. But then there's another conflict with, we don't ever want to break up a family.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I don't think Sam and Grace are going to have a full-on love affair. I just think they're going to secretly hook up sometimes. Just the emotion of it all is going to, and they're going to remember the past and just have this ongoing fling. I don't think it's going to end up with them together, though.
I wonder if the one thing that could get Emma to start really seeing Charlie in a different way is the whole storyline with her dad and how she would feel betrayed and lied to by this guy.
And disgusted.
So that I think she would start to feel like, okay, if you're telling me lie, if you say one lie, is everything else a lie? I think it could start to make some questions come up in Emma's head.
He's such a creep. What do we think of his performance, Grace and Anthony, so far? Quickly.
I think I liked it a lot. I think he kept it right. He didn't go over the top in the place of like, oh, he stands out in that room across from everyone else. He grounded the performance. There's
got to be a fine line there too. So I think he did that well.
I do too, and I'm really excited to see what that actor is going to do with that character, because it's a hard character to tackle, but like, he's good, and I think I have confidence that he's going to be great with it. All right, guys, where can we find you on the interweb?
You can find me at Nicholas Grava on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you guys for having me. I'm just subbing in right now. Thanks for letting me join you guys.
Yeah, he'll come back anytime one of us can't be here. We have two ho-hos. Co-hosts? Whoa. 2 co-hosts that are also ho-hos that are going to be coming in next week, but Nick will fill in whenever he can.
Yes, I will.
I love you.
Oh, thank you.
Guy and a Girl Show on Twitter. I don't have Instagram yet because I don't like taking photos. I know that's got to change. But Guy and a Girl Show on Twitter.
And please don't forget to follow us at AfterBuzz TV, at AfterBuzz TV on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm your host again, Sam Davidson. You can find me on samdavidsonentertainment.com and on Twitter and Instagram at SamD43. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.